Hi, I'm Dave Robinson. Hi, and welcome to another screencast where I'll be using R and RStudio to analyze data I've never seen before. As usual, this data comes from the Tidy Tuesday project, an amazing weekly data project in R run by the R for Data Science online learning community. And as usual, I'm doing this live, so if you're here in chat, say hello and definitely ask questions and give ideas, visualizations that I didn't think of. It's one of my favorite parts of doing this, is getting to do it live and interact with all of you. All right, so let's see what we have this week. We have global deforestation. Yes, so all right, comes from Our World in Data, which is really amazing set of, Our World is absolutely amazing data sets. They're writing up on deforestation. Let's take a look at, we got 5 different data sets that we can work with today on a really important topic. So let's get started. What I would typically do is Tidy Tuesday R, use Tidy template. I tend to just use it for the, I tend to skip all this, and I tend to do, what do? I do library scales and theme set theme light. And I look at the Tidy Tuesday data we have this week. All right, so one thing I like, the columns have our snake case, which I really like. What other kinds of transformations are going to have to do here? Forest CSV, forest area, these don't look, maybe I'll have to transform them, but I can't see it yet. Here I've got a very wide data set in Brazil, so I'm gonna, when I get to that, I'll consider are there ways we might want to reshape it. Other than that, a lot of this data looks like maybe we don't have to transform or reshape it a lot. Let's start by taking a look at this forest data. All right, entity is a country, and we have a 3-digit country code as well. Or actually, I think that entity is a country, but I wonder. Yeah, we always have. It looks like we always have 4, or I don't know, but always. We usually have 4. Sometimes we have 3 data points, and maybe there's ones here that are a continent or larger amounts, but it definitely looks like the vast majority are countries. It says change every 5 years. I can see that in the documentation. So if I look at count year, I'm not quite seeing 5 years, I'm seeing like 1990, 2000, 2010, 2015. All right, and if I look at forest area, I have every year it looks like for 251, this is forest area in conversion. Net forest conversion. Okay, does that mean like deforestation? Like, yes, so this maybe means in hectares, or hectares unit of area. This means how much forest was lost in this country. I wonder if that's cumulative or what. So if I do it this way, change in global forest area as percent of global forest area. Okay, I'm going to need to figure out what exactly these metrics mean. Let's start by grabbing one of these. I'm going to start with this forest area one. And I'm going to ask, if I look at, let's just filter for entity is going to be United States or United States of America. United States. And if I say forest area, what does this look like over time? I just want one graph. I don't even know what it means yet, because I want to say year. I just want to start understanding what does this mean. Okay, the forest area 7 to 7.5. I'm going to guess maybe this is a percent. And then what that would tell me is if I tried. I'm going to check that assumption by grouping by year, summarize sum of forest area. If it's always 100 or close to 100, then that'll answer my question. Nope, there's this is definitely not always 100. It could be that there's overlapping. There's some. So what are the biggest ones? I'm really just trying to right now. I'm just trying to understand what is the data model here. If I say filter for year is max year, take our last year in the data set, arrange descending forest area. Yep. We have regions here that aren't countries. So we have like world, Americas, Europe, Eastern Europe, South America, Russia, etc. So we have ones that are continents, and only then do we have ones that have it looks like most of the codes are countries. I could be missing something, but that's like helpful in terms of how I'm going to want to work with this. Why? Because then I can say forest area country and say filter, the top one is not a country, but I can start by saying filter if string length of code is 3, oops, then this is always then maybe it's always a country. Yep, and now we can see what countries are the highest of a large amount of forest, and it makes sense. 20% Russia, 12% Brazil, 8% Canada. Once I have that, I can actually say group by. I can do that analysis where I group it by year, and it will no longer be meaningless. Oops. Well, I say it won't be meaningless, but let's see. But one thing I can see is, okay, the first 2 years, there's some kind of data problem. It could be we're missing a couple countries for the first 2 years. And the rest of them the countries in our data set account for, looks like could be 98.2 to 99.7% of the world. So I'm actually going to go ahead and filter for year is, in this one, for year is greater than or equal to 1992. Just because it looks like there must be some problem with those first 2 years, but it doesn't really hurt us to remove them. And now we start working with, okay, now I've got a data set that's in this tidy form where I say I can even rename entity to country. And now I get to, and I'm also going to do something else. I'm going to say forest area is forest area divided. I am a big believer in having percentage columns out of 1, not out of 100. Because they're easier to visualize in ggplot2, I can tell it to put it on a percent scale, but I'm also honestly just kind of accustomed to it, to adding up to 1. Your mileage may vary. So what I'm going to do is make a graph of a couple countries. Someone shout out some countries that they're interested in. For instance, I live in the United States, so I'm going to say country in United States. I'm going to throw in Canada. I'm going to throw in, Russia's really big. But I'll do it. Let me see. Anyone else? Somebody else? Yes. So Srikar said India. Let's throw India in, and I'm going to graph year and forest area. And I neglect to do color equals country. And I also want to start the y-axis on a log scale and do here we go, labels equals percent. Bingo. And now we say, okay, and I'm going to label this up a little bit and say percentage of global forest area. All right. So so now and I actually saw a couple other people suggest countries. So let's throw a couple of those in. We have someone visiting from Senegal. Let's throw in. Senegal is a pretty small country compared to these others, so I don't know how high it's going to be. But let's throw it in. We also got Germany, and we got. Let's throw in Brazil and let's say Poland. Yeah, I don't know if I got everyone's, but all right. So what we see is and once I have it this many, I'm probably going to want to reorder the countries. So I'm going to want to do FCT reorder. And yeah, FCT reorder country by forest area. And did I get that backwards? I almost always get it backwards. Yeah. What happens if I do minus? Yeah, then it just works. So the story is I reordered it so that the country with the largest was on top, then Canada, United States, China, etc. This helps me understand like this ranking. I could do scale y content. I could put the y on a log scale. I actually like it not to be on a log scale because it makes it clearer that like most of the world's forest exists in a couple of countries. And yeah, I like this is not a bad graph in terms of, okay, here's some top countries, here's how much the forest areas made up of them. I've got a few other kinds of graphs I'm going to make, including anytime we're doing percentages out of a total, there's a great what's the word? We really want an area plot. But first, I answered a question from Brooke, which is why didn't I need to group by country? You never need to you never need to group by before a ggplot2. You don't, because group by is all about dplyr. By saying color equals country, by saying color equals country, I told the plot that I wanted one line for each country and that it should use color for it. So I only need the color aesthetic, don't need any group by. And I would need a group by for doing aggregation. So, in fact, I am going to do, now I think I might be doing aggregation this next step. I'm going to decide that in a second. So, this is not a bad graph, but these are out of a total. So maybe what I really want to do is to visualize these as percentages, as an area plot. As soon as I want to do that, I'm going to need to lump some countries together. So I'm going to do country is FCT lump of country and 10 weighted by forest area. I say 10's too many, I'm going to do, I don't know, 9. The idea is I want everything to end up in other if it's not in just a handful of countries. And then instead of a line plot, I'm going to do, I think this is how I do it, I'm just reminding myself, geom area fill, is this right? Let's find out. Not quite, and I'm going to remind myself why, and I'm going to, oh, I see why. Because it didn't handle the others well at all. And the story was, this is where I need to aggregate. So what I really want to do is group by country. It needed to say group by, oh, I see, yep, I see what happened. So I need to do group by country, summarize forest, for country and year, and now I do need to aggregate. I say summarize forest area is sum of forest area. Now it's way better off. Notice that it still doesn't quite hit 100%. That was that problem we noticed earlier. We just don't have every country in the world, I guess, in this database for this period of time. I'm not, this is not a terrible graph, but it does actually make it, it's like the things that, it at least gets across the idea that we're looking at a distribution over time. One problem with the graph, it's still in alphabetical order. What did I do? I did not, oh yeah, I really needed an ungroup after the summarize. So actually, instead of ungrouping, here's the thing. After I summarized, it was still grouped by country, which is not a great behavior in this case. If I add an argument, .groups equals drop, I think it's .groups equals drop, bingo, now it's no longer grouped. So there's an argument to summarize, .groups equals drop, and that was stopping the FCT order from working appropriately. Now I can throw the biggest ones on top. That's reasonable. So this is not a bad graph by any means, but it is hard for me to tell what are the amounts of changes of each of these. And change is what I care about. This isn't a data set about where are the most forests. After all, this is actually like, a lot of this is telling me what the biggest countries are. Russia, Brazil, Canada, the United States, China, these are large countries. So yes, they also have a solid amount of forest, but that's a lot of what this is telling me. I'm really interested in the delta. I'm interested in the change. Where has the most deforestation going on, and the decrease in terms of what percentage of the global forest area this country makes up. So to do that, I can say I only want ones that are in both 1992 and 2000. What was it? 2020? Do we have 2020? We do have 2020. I can grab these, and here's what I actually really like, is I like to do, to throw in a Y in front of the year, because that lets me, spread, or throw in forest area now that I think of it. Why? Because that lets me spread. I can also pivot wider, but spread is the way I'm kind of accustomed to doing this, year and forest area. And now I have the amount that it was in 1992, and the amount that it is in 2020. And I can arrange by descending forest area 1992 and say, okay, Russia went from being 19% to 20%, and sometimes went from 13% to 12%. So it looks like Russia makes up a little more than it used to, Brazil less. So this is getting a key bit of, it looks like Brazil has been seeing deforestation. Before I move on, I want to quickly answer Brooke's question, is why didn't we need group equals in country? The answer is that geom line, actually not geom area needed, with fill was a bit of a different case. Quick question is, why did I only need color here? Well, I could have said group equals country, didn't have to because group is a factor. So the so group is so the answer is that if group were numeric, I would have had to add group equal. If country were numeric, I'd have to add group equals. Here, we're in great shape with just color equals country. Just want to answer that code question quickly. Really quick question from Nick about tracking deforestation as a percentage of the total is tough because you're measuring it relative to other countries. So it's like China. China went from 3.8% to 5.4%. Well, a lot of that probably was just that other countries had deforestation, and therefore it made up a larger portion. So that is a little bit tough in terms of measuring it as a percentage of the whole. That's absolutely true. So if we wanted to see the total amount of deforestation, we probably want to do it in terms of area. And I think this data set, forest. See, what annoys me about this. I shouldn't say annoys, but this is in a slightly different format. Let's take a look at this format. Forest. So first, I'm going to say filter. First, I'm curious. Is there anything here that's not a country? Only world. I'm going to throw in the same filter. I'm going to do the same thing to forest. I'm messing with how I'm cleaning the data. This is a clean for forest area. This is clean for forest. And I no longer want this filter, but I do say the code must be exactly 3 letters to drop the world code. And the I want to do a rename. I'm no longer doing this, and now I've got forest with country, year, net forest conversion. What is the net forest conversion? Something I don't understand. Let's see. Is this per year, or is it cumulative, or what is it? This is what I'm wondering. Is like, every year the world loses about 5 million hectares of forest. Right? Great. All right, the reason I like seeing a number like this, every year the world loses 5 million hectares, is it lets me test hypotheses, not like data hypotheses, but data model hypotheses. I want to understand this forest data set, so I'm going to group by year, summarize net forest conversion. All right, yep. This shows that it could plausibly be, in 1990, 6.5 million hectares, in 2000, 3.2 million, in 2020, minus 1 million. So this is the net conversion per year. It's not cumulative relative to the previous amount or anything like that. It's not the total. It's how much deforestation happened in this year is what it looks like. Okay, yeah, that now I think I understand this data model, and we can start answering questions about it. We can answer a question like filter year is 2015. We have 118 countries we're observing, and net forest conversion. And this is actually, so this is some countries gained forest. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it was literally planting forests. I don't know if it was land reclassified as forest. Whatever it is, China and India gained actual like hectares of forest. What is a hectare? How much is a hectare? 100 acres. I don't know what to do with that. Oh, 10,000 square meters. Okay, that now I feel a little bit better. All right, but we'll work in hectares. I want to know. India. Yep. So now we have India. Chile, Turkey, all right. Where was I? Yes, yes. I can arrange this descending, and I can also arrange it ascending. And that tells me, and we see lots of land was lost in Brazil Indonesia, also Tanzania. So this tells me that an interesting visualization is the countries where it changed the most. So now I might want to do this as a, I used to use top N, but now I want to use slice. What is it called? There's slice mac. Let's see. What is the slice max? I want to try this out. Does this work? I actually haven't used this in a while. Or I'm going to say in a while. I haven't used this yet, is what I mean to say. Nice. Okay. Fantastic. This is what they're using instead of top N now. Is we're doing slice. I want the highest values of net forest conversion, of absolute net forest conversion. And what I do is I'd say net forest conversion country. Oh, nice. And now I can do a couple more things. I could say country is FCP reorder country by net forest conversion. Whenever I do this, I want labels we want comma labels. I want, yeah, and 10 is fine, but I can do 20 here without missing a beat. And you know what I also want is I'd like something where I say fill is net forest conversion greater than 0. And I can actually say I don't reorder this. I do not want a legend. I just want the colors. I like having this be red, this be green. So there's like so what we can see is in 2015 in 2015. All right, this visualization in what countries gained and lost forest in terms of total amount lost in this year. Now that's in 1 year. I might instead have wanted to do it across multiple. And if do I have as much data for all these years? Not quite the same data, but it's not off by that much. So maybe what I can do is, don't need this line, group by year, and facet by year. I did the group. Something's missing. I meant to do, no wait, this, what am I missing? Cannot coerce, and I think it's this line. What did I do in this line? What did I do? Labels, label. No, wait. Oh, What's happening? Oh, somebody, yep, thank you, yes. It's always thank you for Pete for pointing out that I was using a plus instead of a pipe. Whew. So and now everybody catches up, yes. So the next step is, 20 is too many. I'm gonna do 10. And I'm going to say facet wrap scales equals free y. But I also want to reorder within. So you might have seen me do this before. Tidy text has a function reorder within and reorders with country within year. And I need to say reorder within and scale. And the other step is scale y reordered. I do these two parts, they always go together. Reorder within, scale y, reorder, two great tastes go great together. And now I can say, okay, here's what deforestation looked like each of these years. Top countries for so China looks like it's been gaining forest every year. That's interesting, I didn't know that. It looks like the rate of deforestation in Brazil, just in terms of like of hectares per year that are lost, has been decreasing since 2000. It hit its peak in 2010. And what that is also telling me is that I might care a lot about is that so this is a perfectly good graph. I can be able to see like here's how much deforestation occurred in each of these years, but it's telling me I might care about the change in deforestation, and therefore I might be interested in, here we go, take our forest, and let's say country is lump country, and here's a fun one, lump into the top, I don't know, let's do 8 so it can be faceted if I want, and do 8. Weight is absolute value of net forest conversion. Group by country and year. I'm doing something similar with Olympian. Sum net forest conversion is sum of net forest conversion. And now do drop. Groups equals drop. I don't want to group anymore. And now I can visualize, here we go, our year net forest conversion, color equals country. Now I can see something like deforestation by year. And I'm just checking, yeah, it looks like we're missing data for Australia. This isn't like it fell off the list for size, it just is missing data in Australia. And I want to do the same trick I did before and say country is FCT reorder country by negative net forest conversion. That way I'll order the China on top, Brazil on the bottom, and a couple other things. And yeah, this is another pretty good graph. There was nothing wrong with this graph showing the biggest changes in each year, but I noticed I was linking like, oh, has Brazil's rate of deforestation been changing? And really that's best done with a graph something like this. And we can even see it's convenient that other is meaningful here. This is like all other countries got summed up into this one. So it's like in the countries we can't see on this list, deforestation has actually been increasing since 2000, just in terms of like hectares lost per year. So so this is a pretty useful graph, and I'm going to say scale y continuous labels equals comma, and yeah, we can say like, and now we can say okay, China's been adding forest at a steady rate. Brazil used to see tremendous deforestation, now less so, though still really higher than anyone else. Heck, I'm going to add a couple just to see like. Try and get as many things from other out of other. It doesn't look great. It could be done better, but this is plenty. So China's been adding a steady rate. India's been adding a steady rate. Australia, a little funky. Used to have deforestation. Added a lot in 2010. Missing in 2015. Don't know what to do with that. And a lot of these other countries basically just losing forest at a steady rate. I could also group this by things like continent. We actually, we can do lots of things by like aggregation by continent. And we may well be doing that. The other thing I'm seeing here is this kind of like, yeah, in the rest of the world, and Indonesia used to have a lot of deforestation. Now it's kind of with the rest of these countries. All right, I'm gonna add this as change in net. Definitely knew about Brazil, the deforestation of the Amazon. That was very not well-known 90s problem in the 90s when I was growing up was deforestation of like the Amazon and in Brazil. All right, so this is one way to look at it by country. So any questions? What I see from Baruch is how about a prediction using leading indicators? How much deforestation will occur next year based on something we observed this year, like use for human animal feed or oil production? That's really cool. I would start with even those simplest descriptive questions of like what continents is deforestation occurring in, and what are the key drivers. It also occurs to me that if you want to do a predictor, you're going to want to do this as a rate relative to the total amount, like size of the country or something like that. Ideally, you really want it based on the total forest area, which you could kind of get by joining these two. I'm not going to do that right now, but let's see as we bring in the other data sets what kind of predictions we can do. And Majay wants to do some maps, and yes, we could definitely do that. So let's see. Okay, yes, I'm going to start by bringing in. Let me see. I'm thinking about maps to do. I'm thinking about bringing in other. All right, I'm going to start by bringing in other data sets, but to do maps, because I think of some fun maps that maybe the other data that we could do with the current data, or we can do with the existing data. When I type TT, I get to look back at the documentation right here. Let's take a look at what these others are. Brazil loss. All right, Brazil is the largest source of deforestation. Just take a quick look at this. Okay, so I'm going to save this as Brazil loss. And we have a lot of, so I think all of these are causes, right? Are they all on the same scale in terms of they're in hectares? I think so, in the sense that so it's like some years lose a little to mining, not a tremendous amount. Some years use a lot to commercial crops. Okay, this tells me that I want to reshape this. We have data on, we only have data on, we have data 13 years of Brazil. Here are all the various causes. If I want to do any visualization or aggregation of this, I'm going to want to reshape it a little bit. I used spread earlier, but if people want to use pivot longer, let's use it. Why not? Yes. Pivot longer, what I'd say is names to cause, values to net, I'd say loss, and the columns that were pivoting longer, I'm reminding myself quickly how pivot longer works. Yeah, the columns that were pivoting longer are everything from commercial crops to small scale clearing. I could also have said everything but entity code and year. This goes in quotes. Yeah. So what I said is I wanted to take all these columns. This is very similar to the gather syntax. Take all these columns, names go to cause, this goes to, the values go to loss. Why do we do it this way? Well, for one thing, I can really easily ask, what's been the largest loss at any point? And we say, oh, pasture in most of not all years looks like, but in most years, pasture was the largest source of loss. And and then I can say within 1 year, filter year is, what was max here and here? 2013. I can arrange descending loss. The most recent year we have in this data set is 2013. We can say what were the largest source of loss? Pasture, then small scale clearing, then selective logging. And but I also can do other, and I don't like reading this in snake case, so I'm going to do a little bit more cleaning. I'm going to say cause is string to title, string replace all, cause underscore space. I'm replacing the underscore spaces, then I'm putting it in title case. Ooh, look at that. I don't love that the word to is, what if I said string to sentence? That reads pretty good. That looks pretty good. I don't need to be title cased. All right, I'm going to keep this as our cleaning that we do to the Brazil loss data set. And then I can answer any question. I can start by saying, in 2013, what's the largest sources of loss? Here we go. And why is that helpful? Well, I can ask a question. I can say, take loss by cause, geom call, and here's the the loss in hectares by cause in 2013. Notice this would have been really hard to graph in the original form of the data, but you reshape it with pivot longer and it ends up being easy. So this is loss in 2013. This graph's fine. I could facet this I could look at the overall and facet it by year if I want to start looking at what are the changing reasons. I don't know that is the way I'd go about doing it, though. Here, I'm saying I could do this. I could say faceted by year. I throw in here I actually don't want to reorder the scales because I might want to compare them. But this ends up being kind of tough to you can see some things. You can see there looked like there was a huge forest fire in 2010, but honestly, there are better ways to visualize this data. In particular, yeah, I'm not even gonna keep this one. I'm going to just I keep the reorder, but I reverse it, and then I say year loss color equals cause geom line, and and drop the facet. This goes on the Y, this goes on the Y, this goes on the X, flip it all around, and we've got like, this is at least like this is one way to visualize it, where we say, yep, pasture is on top basically always, and then commercial crops had one spike, and one thing we can learn from this is there have been 3 major fires that caused large loss. And let's keep this in perspective. Consider that, like in perspective meaning it's a very large effect. Consider that these spikes, that's almost 500,000 hectares. Remember that graph we made of like by country? That's like, that's large, that would be right here. This is saying that in that year there was more forest lost to fire in Brazil than lost in basically any other country, except for, yeah, basically in any other one country. Like more than was lost in Australia, more than was lost in, where's the US? US is not on this list. More than was lost in Indonesia. Like it's actually, Indonesia used to lose a lot more. But the point is, like, when you're dealing with 500,000 hectares, was that how many it was? Am I right? Yep, we're looking at like 500,000 hectare loss of fire. Yeah, that's pretty large. It's on like a global scale that has a bit of an impact. But it still is the largest source is pasture. That's one thing we're learning from here. And we've seen also, yeah, commercial crops used to be I don't know the difference between pasture and commercial crops. Yeah, let's see, do we have this in the in the documentation? Pasture for livestock. Oh, pasture for livestock. Okay, right, like cows and I don't know anything about, and goats and whatever, as opposed to commercial crops like actual growing. That's interesting. I think I wouldn't have expected pasture to be a much larger source of cause of deforestation. But it also looks like it's the area, pasture and commercial crops, the 2 areas where Brazil has much less deforestation going on now. Fire still been an intermittent issue. My understanding is climate change is a risk factor in that. We can also see selective logging, whatever that is, has been increasing a little bit. All right, just a little bit. We could aggregate some of these together into another. This I think, but still I think this graph is basically fine. The other way we could have visualized this would have been, here we go, to do it as a geom area, and fill equals cause. I can do it in this order, or I can FCT drop the minus, and now the biggest source is on the bottom. I like this, but as soon as I do this, I'm going to want to aggregate those top few levels. Basically, notice the colors get kind of too blended together. That's because so many are used in those top few. I'm going to want to do some lump. So I'm going to do cause FCT lump of cause by, into, let's say, the top 5. And weight is loss. Group by cause year. Summarize loss is sum loss. Drop the groups. Cool. Now all the others are together. I can add one more than that. Cool. Yeah, so this is pretty good. I do like this graph. So this is what is an area plot used for? It's great when you want to see. We saw in an earlier visualization that that Brazil had made some progress since the year 2000 in terms of lower rates of deforestation, and we've seen, okay, what is that about? Well, it looks like in the early 2000s there was lots of deforestation, mostly driven by pasture, but also by commercial crops. And then we see that kind of decreases over time. We see spikes in due to fire in 2005. There's another way to see it in these years, and we see like there's the other, but then there's selective logging, pretty steady. This is pretty good if you want to like focus most of all on the overall trend and before zooming in on them. So geom area is really helpful for that. Notice I needed to aggregate. Okay, that's as much as I think I'd get out of the Brazil loss data. If any question about it, feel free to ask. But let's try another visual data set. What I'd ask is soybean use. Oop. I still have country. I wonder if I do filter string length because I only want. Whoop. String length. Oh, string length code equals 3. I want to make sure and rename. Cool. So this is showing like. What this is saying is, I'm looking back at this, more than 3/4 of global soy is fed to livestock. The idea that foods promote as substitutes for meat and dairy, like tofu, soy, driving deforestation, is a common misconception. Okay, so this is one thought in terms of like soy farming. Look at this, soybean production and use. Yeah, so we spoiled the purpose. Oh, sorry, we spoiled the conclusion from this here, but it looks like we're going to say the question would be like, what is driving? What is like driving soybean use? What is there any sense in which soybean is like associated with deforestation? So I can start by saying something like filter year is. Let me look at just 1 year. It's always nice to look at 1 year. And by the way, I'm going to save this as. What is the unit of these? Tons or something? I have no idea what the unit of 11,000 human soybean in Angola is. I don't know. Is it tons? Is it pounds? Is it number of beans? Probably not. I don't know. But somebody sees that, let me know. So if I said, what are the countries that do have the highest, the highest total. Okay, so this would be one where I'd want to, if I wanted to ask a question about soybeans, if I wanted to ask a question like, what are the countries that use the most, I'd probably want something like a total column, and I'm going to throw that into the, mutate total is human food plus animal feed plus processed. And descending by total. And now you can say, okay, the countries that work the most, that produce the most soybeans are China, United States, and Brazil. So the fact that Brazil is on top in terms of, and then we see like deforestation, well, that probably linked into that commercial crop idea earlier. And a real key though is that this is a point that the article makes, is that most soybeans most soybean use of the world is about the processed step, not about the is about process, not human or animal feed. So imagine that I reshaped this. Take this and I say pivot longer. I want human food to processed. I want to be names to use, call of values to amount. I do not know the unit of amount. And I bet, actually I don't know what NAs are. I want to, are they 0? I don't know. There are zeros in here. But arrange descending total. I'm going to go ahead and say filter not is in a total. The idea is that I can actually like I can work with this in terms of like, let's look at one country. I can say United States. No, let's do Brazil, because we've been talking a lot about Brazil in the context of its shrinking forests. And if I can make a graph that's we've been doing a lot of area plots. Amount of soybeans, geom area, fill equals use. This is the kind of thing I want to do. And you can see like, okay, Brazil has been creating a lot of soybeans, but almost all of it for processed, the process purpose. Now I like this this thing I did earlier when I did cause, mutate cause is this. So I'm going to keep this in here, and I'm going to say soybean use. You know what? I'm going to put it in the processed version, and I'm going to do this as part of my processing. But it's not called cause, it's called use. Haha. And now I can say something like, okay, look at Brazil. Animal feed, human food processed. Looks pretty good. And I can actually say scale X, scale Y, continuous labels equals comma. Has anybody figured out yet what is anybody on that what the soybean unit is? You don't actually have to do this for me. I just amount of soybeans. No, I don't know if that's none. Unit is measured in something. So I'm gonna put that until someone fixed it up for me. All right, so the so let's find that. So with animal food, human food processed, and we can see the this is Brazil, but I might want to look at a couple of these top countries. I can look at Brazil and United States and China as one example. And once I do, as soon as I do that, I'd better facet wrap by country. And heck, let's throw in Indonesia, because Indonesia was really big in the deforestation graph. I put in Indonesia, but something is missing from it. Let me check this. If I say filter entity is Indonesia, does it have some missing data or something like that? Yes, it does. I'm gonna try guessing that NA is 0 instead of filtering it out. I'm gonna say replace NA list is I'm gonna do replace value, no, it's amount equals 0. Thank you, sir. Yields. Thank you, David. It's average soybean yields measured in tons per hectare. All right, this is interesting because the tons per hectare, if it's a yield, then it's not an amount. It's yield of soybeans. It actually is like a function of it's productivity. So yield of soybeans tons per hectare. So this is like if your forest area, if your farm area is growing, this is not necessarily going to change. This is going to be about per hectare. Is that right? That surprised me because yeah. I believe it, but it's interesting that the yield is going up so much. Is that right? This can't be. Wait, hold on. This can't be, because tons per hectare, there's no way 1 hectare does 60 million tons of soybean. That doesn't feel right to me. So I think it's got to be something else. So I'm gonna soybean production tons. I'm gonna leave this in here, but you can correct me later if I'm wrong. The reason that one thing I did want to look at here was China used to be a lot of soy for human use, but it's shown a growth of like processed, which, as we noted from the guides, includes things like fuel or processed animal feed. All right, so that's I think it's an interesting visualization. I don't have a way to link it to deforestation right now. We have 10 more minutes, so what I'm going to do is instead of by crop type. You know what's fun is I bet I can get this in like I bet I can get this real fast because it looks like it's in the same format. Thanks. Jim says it's the use in metric tons by country. I wonder how it differs from production. Soybeans tons. I'm just going to write this, what we don't know. It sounds like it's use. Oh, okay, it's use. Then it's harder, I think, to link it to deforestation, but that'll do for now. I want to see quickly if I can get one visualization out of vegetable oil, because I don't think I need to change the format because it's already in like a handy format. I just probably want to do rename entity and say vegetable oil all the way around. And I just want to create one graph. I want to look at some big countries just like we did here. And I'm wondering in here, if I take vegetable oil, count by crop oil, 13, that's a lot. So what I'll do is I'll do vegetable oil, mutate crop oil is, I'll do couple things. I'll say filter not is NA production, FCP lump, production, nope, crop oil, top 5, weighted by production, group by crop oil, country, crop oil, year. Look at me getting nerd sniped by this data that I said I wasn't going to visualize, but now I'm wondering, like the question stuck in my head. I don't know about you, but the question stuck in my head, like what countries use what kind of vegetable oils? Like you see this data, I want to know, right? I want to know it for a couple countries in my case. Kind of want to know it for all countries, but I want to know United States, India, China, and Indonesia. These are not, are these the 4 largest countries in the world? I think they're the 4 largest by population in the world. And we can say year, but not in production, just in terms of population. And area, fill. We're doing a lot of fill things today, so it's kind of like, I like it. And oops, look at me forgetting to do facet wrap. That's what they call accidental art. Yeah, so I'll sell this as an NFT right here. 1,000,000 internet points, whoever goes and sells that graph as an NFT. All right, so and yeah, now I can say, okay, wow, I think this is actually pretty cool as a graph. I did scales free. I don't want scales free. Yeah, I think this is a pretty nifty graph, where the idea is that we can say, okay, Indonesia produces tons of vegetable oil palm seed, palm, and you can see other ones, soybeans in China and the United States, really kind of well spread out in India, and others pretty consistent across some, though growing in Indonesia. I think this is pretty cool. I wanted to see something like this. I really like these graphs. I don't have a way to link it to deforestation right now. It's about crop use, but I'll clean it up just a little bit. All right. I promised maps. What map are we going to make? What map are we going to make? Are we going to make it by seed usage? No, I think we're going to do deforestation. We're going to get back to the core idea of deforestation. Are we going to do it in 1 year? Are we going to do it in over time? Let's do it. You know what bugs me about any map we show is it's mostly going to be showing like big countries are big, isn't it? Like just in terms of area, it's going to be showing like big countries are big. But I can do, you know, I'm not going to do an animation, but I am going to do forest filter. Yeah, I am going to show amount of deforestation per country. And yes, I am going to do it as a map because I did promise that. So first we have this data set ISO 3166. This is super annoying. But we need to use it because we have a 3-letter country code, and we need to do inner join with this data set by code equals A3, and now we've brought in the map name, and this is our map, our country data. We're going to try a couple different maps. I like the idea of using relative rather than absolute. We're going to start with absolute, then we'll do relative. So we're going to make a map, and the only way I currently know how to make a map is this way, where I joined in this data so that it has a map name column, and now I do map data world as Tibble. For whatever reason, this is the thing I've been doing. Regex left join with country data by region equals map name. The story here is that map name is actually a regular expression, and this joins. I did this recent. I only have this off the top of my head because I did it pretty recently. And once I have this, I can actually do long lat group equals group, fill equals our key number, which in this case is what is it? Net forest conversion, geom polygon. And hey, I'm going to say filter region is not equal to Antarctica. Look at that, just like that, we have a map. I can throw in a GG themes, because I like theme map. we're missing some things. We are missing the United States of America. That's not ideal on a graph like this. I did a left join. Let me check something on this. If I say filter code is USA, nope. Something's up. USA is right there. USA is right here. Are we missing up? We're missing 2015 in the US. We also missing Australia. All right, that's good to know. I'm going to drop the US from, to skip the US. Sorry, I'm going to use 2010 data instead of 20, I'm going to use 2010 data instead of 2015. All right, next step is that we want to now we have what's called a choropleth. We filled in all our countries. This wasn't too bad for this chunk of code, but I'm going to want to specify that this scale fill should probably be a gradient. I like gradient 2, going from red to I would do green because it represents forest. Please forgive me if you're colorblind, but you know it's one way to do it. And I'm also going to say I need to fill. Now the problem is that this also has a lot of things that are very close to 0. So I need to say, I think I can say color equals black. I think I can add outlines to these polygons. Let's find out if I can. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I think it's, what is it? It's like size equals 1. Let's find out. Let's find out if I can make these, if I remember how to make these thinner. That made it thicker, but that means I know I'm in the right direction. Hey, that looks not too bad. I'm going to make it even thinner if I can. And I'm going to do net forest. So again, we're missing some data, but this is one we can look at it. Now, some people have pointed out we could look at this in a relative sense. There are a few ways to look at it in a relative sense. We could do it as percentage of the world. We could do it as percentage of current forest area, which we can actually calculate, I think, if we put a little work into it. We're out of time, so I'm not going to do these visualizations. But the key is that any time we have things by country, even if it's just a 3-letter country code, we're just a couple of slightly hairy steps away. But if you know a better way to do this than the way that I'm doing it here, please do let me know in the comments or on Twitter or anywhere. All right. And, oh yeah, I'm going to throw one more thing in because it's bugging me. Labels, comma. It's like to see that Australia, China's gaining a lot, Australia, US gaining a little, Brazil losing a lot. This is in the year 2010. That's in total hectares. All right, so that brings us to the end. I'm going to see, let's see, we have some, any questions for people? One is, have I used GeoFacet? No, I've never used GeoFacet. I have not heard of GeoFacet. I should check that out. That sounds interesting. Thanks, Andrew. Other questions we have are, let me answer the title text question offline once I stop the video, and then I can just answer in the chat because I think it's not related to the topic. What I'll do is, what do we do overall? It's a good question about title text, but I want to answer it offline. So, just for time reasons. So what do? We started by looking at what percentage of global forest area, how has that been changing over time, and had a couple of visualizations of it. We tried area, and that area plot wasn't my favorite, but I like some of the other ones. We could look at the biggest changes by spreading it, but we ended up deciding that we'd look instead at 1 year, what were the total changes, like China gaining a lot, Brazil losing a lot, and then deciding once we were looking at the largest changes within each year, it's a faceted version of the previous plot, that we might as well be look at the line. This was my favorite visualization, just in terms of how has the world's amount of forest been changing, what has been caused it to go up, what has been going down. Occurs to me there's a graph we call like a metropolis graph, or a Manhattan graph or something, where you can actually like stack these in a positive or negative direction. I haven't thought of that. That's maybe next time. but yeah, this was the graph I most liked in terms of deforestation over time. Then for Brazil, we reshaped the data, and once we did, it was very easy to say the largest causes in 1 year or the largest causes over time with an area or a line plot. And the and here now we can see, okay, large, like a lot of loss of forest this should just be, yep, here, and the same thing here. We did a lot of area plots today because we did a lot of things that are out of a total, and this I did like this plot for communicating both the overall and some interesting little insights like the fire. They brought in a soybean use data set, which is mostly about how are soybeans used around the world, so that we understand it's mostly about process, not human food or animal food. Mostly it's soybeans used them as like fuel or processed to be used to feed, things like that. And we still think I'm not 100% sure on what's on the soybean one, but we know. Yes. Now we do know the soybean is use, not processed. Where did this graph? Where did this graph go? Thought I was doing something with this graph. Oh, I see what happened. I did this rename. And I did a reorder. I did a bunch of things. Nope, I just need to drop use, change that to this graph is not a graph. I didn't use this graph. I used this one. That's what was confusing me. And yeah, we looked at the vegetable oil production over time, found another opportunity to use an area. And finally, because it was a request, we did a map, which I can think of some things. You could do animated core plots in some of these in terms of vegetable oil use or soybean use or vegetable oil production. Lots of things that could be really cool maps that we just didn't have time for today. All right, that's everything. I'll push this up to GitHub. You'll be able to check out the code yourself. If you liked today's screencast, please do like and subscribe. I hope you had a lot of fun. I certainly did. I'll see you next week.